We've all been through moments when, despite having everything, we feel like something is missing. Hailey had success, luxury, and a life many envied, but she wasn't happy. Until an unexpected encounter at an intersection changed everything. A simple street artist, with his lightness and talent, brought back the smile she had almost forgotten. Sometimes, what we need most is just a new perspective on life. Ready to find out what happened? Keep watching and embark on this journey of love and transformation. Let's go. It was a hot summer afternoon in San Diego, sunny California. The streets were bustling, the rays of the sun gleamed on the asphalt, reflecting off the glass facades of the tall buildings. In the heart of the city, the sound of the waves blended with the hum of the cars, creating a unique symphony that was the trademark of that coastal city. The story begins with Hailey, a 27-year-old heiress driving through the elegant streets of San Diego in her white sports car. Her life, to anyone's eyes, was the picture of perfection, beauty, wealth, and a family empire, Green Enterprises, under her command. However, behind this image, Hailey hid a wounded heart. A few days earlier, she had broken off her engagement, canceling a luxurious ceremony after discovering that the man she was going to marry was more interested in controlling her life than truly loving her. With no clear destination, Hailey drove just to distract herself from the memories and the recent pain. Her thoughts were clouded, her mind lost in the uncertainties of what the future might hold. It was then, as she stopped at a traffic light near her workplace, that something caught her attention. Near the intersection close to the Green Enterprises building, a man was juggling. His name was Lorenzo, and he used his skilled hands and some colorful balls to brighten up the passers-by. Hailey had noticed him several times before when leaving work, often admiring his lightness and the artistic talent he exuded. He seemed to turn each simple act into a fluid and engaging dance. That day, however, she was sadder than usual, and upon seeing Lorenzo, a small involuntary smile appeared on her face. It was as if, for a moment, he had lit a spark amid the darkness clouding her mind. And it was at that moment that something changed inside Hailey. She decided to stop the car and talk to him. Hailey, taking a deep breath, spoke, "Hi, can I talk to you for a moment?" Lorenzo looked at her surprised, but smiled warmly, not letting the shock of seeing someone so elegant disturb him. Lorenzo replied, "Sure, how can I help?" Hailey, without beating around the bush, quickly said, "I want to hire you to perform at my company's biggest event. I know it's a bit strange, but your art brought me some joy today, and I'd like other people to feel the same." Lorenzo was intrigued, and after Hailey explained about the Green Enterprises Gala, he felt compelled to accept. After a thoughtful pause, Lorenzo agreed, but with one condition. Lorenzo said, "You pay me what you think I deserve, nothing more. Life is more than money. If I can bring a bit of happiness, that's worth it to me." 3 days later, at the luxurious Carlton Hotel, the annual gala began. Lorenzo was preparing backstage, adjusting the details of his juggling show. The hall was filled with important high society figures, including Brian, Hailey's ex-fiancé, who was still bitter about the breakup. While Lorenzo impressed the audience with his skill and creativity, Brian, driven by envy and anger, decided to sabotage the performance. He sneaked over to the sound table and adjusted Lorenzo's microphone volume, subtly increasing it just enough to create an uncomfortable noise that would disrupt his concentration. Lorenzo, sensing that something was off, struggled to maintain his rhythm, but at a crucial moment, when he was about to perform a more complex trick, the sudden noise caused him to lose control of the balls. And at that critical moment, Lorenzo lost his balance and fell, leaving the room in a horrified silence. An ambulance was called, and Hailey rushed to his side, holding his hand as he was placed on the stretcher. At the hospital, doctors diagnosed a fractured ankle, something that would require rest. Hailey, determined to help, suggested that Lorenzo stay at her mansion to recover, and after some resistance, he finally agreed. When Lorenzo agreed to stay at Hailey's house to recover, he couldn't help but feel uncomfortable. The mansion was grand and full of luxurious details he had never experienced before. He felt somewhat out of place, trying to adjust to an environment that seemed to have come straight out of a movie. Every hallway felt vast, the walls decorated with fine artwork, and the heavy silence that filled the place was oppressive. In the first days, he avoided any interaction as much as possible. He preferred to stay in his room, avoiding the elegant and well-decorated spaces. Hailey noticed this, and while maintaining a certain distance, she felt curious and a bit guilty for him being so uncomfortable. Until one day, after a long day at work, Hailey decided to do something different. Instead of heading straight to her office, she went to the back veranda where Lorenzo was sitting, having a cup of coffee. Hesitant, she approached and said, "Can I join you?" Lorenzo smiled politely, straightening up in his chair. "Of course. It's nice to have some company." Sitting there, with the gentle night breeze embracing their conversation, Haley couldn't resist her curiosity and asked about his life. "Have you always been a juggler?" Lorenzo chuckled softly, a bit embarrassed. "Actually no. I used to study during the day and work at night at a small restaurant. I was never rich, but my parents always taught me to be grateful for what I had. I was studying business, but art was always something that fascinated me. I started learning on my own, watching videos and practicing in parks. It was something I did to relax. One day, a friend suggested I try performing on the street, and that's when I realized I could turn it into a form of work too." Haley smiled, intrigued, and asked, "And what motivated you to keep going?" "At first, it was just a hobby," he replied, looking into the distance. "But after I started performing on the street, I realized I could bring a little joy to people, like I did with you that day. Life here in the city isn't easy, the cost of living is high, and with bills to pay, it was a way to earn a bit more. And the most interesting thing is that, even when I'm just trying to make a little extra, I feel like I'm doing something I love." Haley stayed silent, processing his words. Behind that simple man, there was a depth she hadn't expected. He wasn't just an artist, he was someone who, amidst difficulties, had found his passion and managed to bring happiness to others. Days went by, and Lorenzo's initial discomfort began to fade. He started feeling more at ease in the mansion, especially when Haley took the time to chat with him. Whether it was to have a morning coffee or a brief conversation at night, they began to get to know each other better. Over time, Haley began to see Lorenzo not just as the street artist she hired for her gala, but as someone she admired for his resilience and simplicity. He, in turn, started to see beyond the image of the successful businesswoman, discovering a woman who was willing to learn and listen. When Lorenzo fully recovered, he knew it was time to move on and return to his normal life. Although reluctant, he thanked Haley for everything and expressed his gratitude for being welcomed so generously. "I think I've occupied your home long enough," he said, trying to hide his emotion. "It's time to go back to my life." "You can come back any time," Haley replied, smiling, trying to keep things light. "The door will always be open." As Lorenzo prepared to leave, both felt that something deeper had been built there. A connection that went beyond the circumstances, something that didn't need many words but was evident in the look they exchanged. After Lorenzo left Haley's house, something unexpected began to take hold of her. Before, the mansion seemed to be a picture of emptiness and loneliness, but now, every corner held memories of his presence. When she passed by the veranda, she remembered their conversations, and in the mornings when she had coffee alone, her mind went back to those subtle laughs and the stories told so unpretentiously. Haley couldn't stop thinking about that beautiful and captivating man, whose skilled hands danced in the air with impressive lightness. It was impossible to deny, Lorenzo was incredibly handsome. His strong features and deep gaze were striking, but it wasn't just his appearance that captivated her. There was something about his demeanor, a mix of simplicity and authenticity, that made her feel like she was with someone genuine and, above all, someone who genuinely cared. The days spent with him made her realize she was no longer suffering from the end of her previous relationship. The wounds caused by her ex-fiancé now seemed part of a distant life, as if Lorenzo had brought a gentle breeze that swept away all the bad memories and carried them far away. Now, Haley spent more time thinking about him and wanting to be close to him again. She felt that, in some way, he had helped her find a new version of herself. Determined to see him again, Haley began passing by the place where Lorenzo used to perform. Whenever she had some free time, she would drive to the intersection near her work, hoping to see him. The first time she saw him again, she stayed at a distance, watching him with admiration. Her heart was racing, and she couldn't contain her smile as she saw him doing what he loved, enchanting the people around him. One day, after Lorenzo finished his performance, Haley approached him and suggested they grab a coffee at the nearby place by the intersection. He, with his relaxed demeanor and easy smile, agreed. And so, those casual meetings at the cafe became a routine. They talked about everything, their dreams, their life experiences, and even their frustrations and fears. Haley opened up in a way she never had with anyone before. Lorenzo, in turn, felt comfortable being himself, without filters, without fears. Over time, the connection between Haley and Lorenzo naturally grew stronger. Each meeting at the cafe flowed like a continuation of the last, with more intense looks and increasingly sincere smiles. Without realizing it, both were falling in love, in a genuine and deep feeling. In one of these meetings, Haley, unable to hold back what she felt any longer, confessed that her life felt incomplete since he had left her home. Lorenzo, although feeling the same way, was afraid of others' opinions due to the social differences between them. However, Haley reassured him, saying that what mattered was who he truly was, and that she wanted to live this pure love without fear. Holding Lorenzo's hand and expressing her desire to share this feeling together, Lorenzo, moved by her words, put his insecurities aside. He also declared his love for her, and they embraced and kissed for the first time, immersed in the intensity of the moment. After confessing their feelings, Haley and Lorenzo decided to put their fears aside and start living what they felt for each other. The couple began meeting more frequently, not just at the nearby cafes, but exploring the city together, savoring each moment as if it were unique. They walked hand in hand by the beach, talked under the starry sky, and shared wonderful nights filled with affection, laughter, and stories. For Haley, it was a new beginning, and alongside Lorenzo, she began to experience life in the most full and authentic way. Lorenzo, in turn, saw in Haley more than a successful woman. He saw someone with a genuine thirst for happiness who found simplicity in the little things like him. They didn't care about the curious looks from people who saw them together. For them, what mattered was the feeling of walking side by side, facing life together as equals. But, as in every story, challenges arose. Haley's ex-fiancé Brian found out about her new relationship with Lorenzo, and his anger only grew. For him, seeing Haley happy with a simple man was unacceptable. Driven by revenge and resentment, Brian decided to try sabotaging them again, but this time, in a more treacherous way. Using his connections, he made an anonymous report to immigration, claiming that Lorenzo was an undocumented immigrant, hoping to separate them and make Haley suffer. It was a regular day when immigration officers appeared at the corner where Lorenzo performed. He, not understanding what was happening, was taken by the authorities to provide explanations. The news spread quickly, and Haley found out about it at work, entering a state of panic. She knew exactly who could be behind this. Determined to protect Lorenzo and the love they had built, Haley wasted no time. She gathered all the legal resources she could and contacted specialized immigration lawyers. Additionally, she called an urgent meeting with influential members of her family, explaining the situation and asking for support. It was a tense moment, but Haley wasn't willing to give up. She knew she had to fight for Lorenzo. On the day of Lorenzo's hearing, Haley showed up by surprise, determined to resolve the situation once and for all. She introduced herself as his fiancée and assured them that they were formally committed. She brought documents and evidence that Lorenzo was working to legalize his status and that his situation wasn't of immediate risk. When Lorenzo saw her, he felt a wave of relief and gratitude, but also immense admiration for Haley's courage and determination to defend him. Haley spoke with unwavering strength and conviction, saying that Lorenzo was more than a partner. He was someone who had changed her life and that she was willing to do whatever was necessary to protect their relationship. The agents, faced with the evidence presented and the visible commitment between the two, decided not to proceed with immediate deportation, granting Lorenzo the opportunity to resolve his legal status. Brian, seeing that his plan had failed, tried to confront Haley once more, but she was firm. She told him he no longer had control over her life, that chapter was closed. He no longer had power over her, and the love she had found was something he could never destroy. Realizing there was no longer any way to interfere, Brian walked away, unable to hide the hatred in his eyes but knowing that he had lost for good. Over time, Lorenzo regularized his legal status and was able to continue living his life alongside Haley without worries. Together, they faced adversities with strength and love, showing that a true relationship can overcome any obstacle. They decided to celebrate their union in an intimate way, in a garden overlooking the ocean. The ceremony was simple but filled with meaning. Close friends and family witnessed the couple exchange sincere vows, promising to love and support each other through every moment. Haley was radiant, and Lorenzo, with a smile that reflected his light-hearted spirit, knew he had found more than just love. He had found a home. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with someone who needs a bit of lightness in their life. Thank you for being here, and see you next time.